you to do. There are many different religions. Oh. So, okay. So I wanted to introduce the idea that sometimes there are arguments implied by what somebody says. I'm just having one sentence things. An argument, remember, is a conclusion based on reasons. Sometimes the conclusion is implied and not stated. And sometimes one or more of the reasons are implied but not stated. And there's some rhetorical power in not stating something. For instance, the claim, Jesus never said anything against homosexuality. Okay? What is the conclusion that you're supposed to draw from that? Okay, exactly. The statement is Jesus never said anything bad against homosexuality. Therefore, Jesus thought homosexuality was okay. Okay? Now, having you bring that unstated conclusion into your mind means that you haven't really examined it or thought about it very much. It's a way of persuading you without thinking. Now, an argument based on reasons usually has to have at least two reasons. Okay? So what's the other premise or the other reason in here that's not stated? Here's the first one. Jesus never said anything bad about homosexuality. Second reason, what we're looking for, conclusion, therefore, homosexuality is okay.
If he had thought homosexuality was bad, he would have spoken against it.
Okay. So the second reason could be whatever Jesus didn't say anything bad about is okay. Okay? So you get that? Here's the claim. Jesus never said anything bad about homosexuality. Second, unstated, whatever, if there's anything Jesus didn't say anything bad about, it must be okay. Therefore, homosexuality must be okay. Okay. So once you get those unstated premises and conclusions out in the open, you look at them and you say, well, that's a stupid argument. Because, as Bob pointed out, there's a whole host of counterexamples that you could bring. Jesus never said anything about child abuse. Jesus never said anything about nuclear war. Jesus never said anything about polluting the environment. Jesus, there's all sorts of counterexamples. So, we realize that's a bad argument. Okay? So here's one. There are many different religions. Now, what's the conclusion that we're asked to draw from that?
They're all equally true.
There we go. Therefore, you can't claim any one religion is true. They're all equally right. So the unstated conclusion. So different cultures disagree on some moral issues. Therefore, all moral issues are relative to culture. Okay? Have you heard this, or at least heard it implied? Sure. So the moral relativism. So here's an analogy to keep in mind, because this is getting to our objective-subjective distinctions as well. At one time, some people thought the earth was flat and others thought it was spherical. So at that time, did the earth have no shape? No. So there was a shape of the earth. People disagreed. That shape was an objective truth. People had different ideas about it, but just because they had different ideas didn't mean that there wasn't an objective truth that they were trying to grasp. And the same thing happens to do with morals. Not all, but some moral claims are objective. I think some are probably subjective too. But what Christians say is that at least some moral claims are objective, which means that they are true regardless of what anybody thinks about them. The claim of the moral relativist is that all moral claims are subjective, and it depends on what culture you're in. So this is a what's called a non sequitur. The conclusion doesn't follow from the premises. That just because you have differences of opinion doesn't mean that there is no objective truth of the matter. It'd be like a group of 6-year-olds in a classroom disagreeing on what the answer to 6 times 7 is. Okay? They could have a whole host of answers, but that doesn't mean that there is no right answer.